you got to do both. And so I think that's something that we probably not done a very good job of articulating in recent years. Sir,
to make that transition, we need revenue though. And I'm a firm believer in, there's a plant that they want to build up north, taking coal and turning it into diesel fuel, like this gentleman over here said about.
Coal liquid.
He said, school, why do the school districts get this BP cleanup and our diesel fuel and the heating oil for our schools? Our school taxes are going to go up. We're the Saudi Arabia of the world when it comes to coal. Right now, if we build that plant, we could make coal, we could make diesel fuel at $2.80 a gallon. That's 40 cents less than what it's going for right now. And as we speak, there's tractor trailers driving up and down 78, cranes, everything uses heating oil. I don't understand why we don't take advantage of that to make that revenue. We could put solar panels on roofs with the generated funds from Pennsylvania alone. Heck, America's, it seems like the federal government isn't going to help us.
The point you're making is a fair point. That I've often felt that in exchange for developing domestic resources, whether it's coal or oil in Anwar, on these 2,000 acres of ground in Alaska. And by the way, when you hear about the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, Anwar, you talk about drilling, you're talking about 2,000 acres on the Arctic coastal plain, where there are no trees at that location. It's 2,000 acres. Put that in perspective. That's like the Philadelphia airport, the Dulles International Airport. That's the footprint. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is that in exchange for producing oil, and to the extent that federal land is involved, we could use some of the royalty revenues from licensing fees we get, and then use some of that money for research into alternative and renewable energy to help make some advances. Rather than, I prefer that approach rather than raising the price of coal and oil and natural gas so that wind and solar, which are already more expensive, can compete in the marketplace. I would rather not punish all of you. I don't want to do that. I don't want to punish you for what it is you need to heat your home or to drive a vehicle. And there's a lot we can do too on the motor vehicle side, on the transportation sector. I mean, to the extent that we're going to be able to develop the next generation of lithium-ion batteries so that we can run a coal and electricity. I mean, I'm very excited about the potential. Then you can run your car off the electric grid. Where do we get electricity from? Well, we get it from coal, uranium, through nuclear, natural gas, things we have domestically. We would be less reliant upon OPEC and the Saudi Arabia and other Venezuela and other nations that that can create trouble for us. So those are the issues that I think we can really make some great change. We can transform ourselves, but I think working through, particularly on the transportation sector, I think that's where there's tremendous potential and opportunity. But it does require an American commitment to becoming much more diverse. And I don't always use the term energy independence because when you look at where we get our oil from, truth is our biggest export to us is the oil country. It's Canada. Canada's number one. Mexico, and I think Saudi Arabia and Nigeria. You mentioned Nigeria. Saudi Arabia is in the top three, I think, usually, but Nigeria is close in there too. Then Venezuela. Those are the 5 big suppliers of oil. Canada, number one. Has been and will continue to be in Mexico, Saudi Arabia, Nigeria, Venezuela. So to the extent that we certainly want to lessen, we have to do what we can to lessen our dependence on many of these nations, particularly those OPEC nations. I think we can live just fine if we have to work with our Canadian partners and Mexican partners to help us provide some of our energy needs, and they go back and forth. But reciprocate. But the long and short of it is, we're going to have to become much more diverse. I think ultimately we're going to have to lead to that next technological innovation that will transform the transportation sector, which I think will take us a long way. I think the final comment, back.
Well, one thing we have a lot of in this nation is waste. And I'm guessing that just in the D.C. area alone, the government funds probably a couple hundred cafeterias, and every day you throw away tons of used vegetable oil, which works perfectly well in a diesel engine. So why don't we have an initiative to capture the used vegetable oil that the government pays somebody to haul away